Alright, so we've got some new Cyberpunk updates for you all, plus what in the world is CD Projekt RED up to? They are turning to Kickstarter to ask you, the fan base, to fund one of their projects despite the recent massive earnings. So we're going to talk about that one. Definitely controversial, so let's dive into this. Hey everyone, what's happening? Open World Games here, hope you're doing good. And yes, we're talking about Cyberpunk, but first check this out right here. So I have something really cool to show you guys. I found a way to access tons of movies and shows on Netflix that are not available in my country, but I also get added security, privacy, and reduced ads when browsing the interwebs. So let's say I want to go over here real quick to my PC. It could be your TV, what have you, and I want to watch some Netflix. More specifically, I want to watch one of my favorite movie franchises ever, the Lord of the Rings movies, which are not available in my country. Well, what I simply do is I access NordVPN to change my country to the proper region, and guess what? I have access to Sam and Frodo's adventure. I mean, who wouldn't want to watch Lord of the Rings in their cyberpunk themed crib? But you can also do this to access tons of other region locked movies and shows, and it just opens up tons of entertainment options, which is really, really cool. Now, more significantly, PC Mag also gave NordVPN editor's pick with a rare 5 out of 5 rating. That's very significant, and it's one of the reasons why I'm so supportive of NordVPN. Now, also, they do provide a 30-day money-back guarantee, and I'm happy to give you guys a special discount code for a limited time. So check this out right here. Check out the link in the description below to begin your adventure with NordVPN if you want extra security, limited ads, and access to region-locked TV shows, movies, and streaming apps. So if you go to nordvpn.com/openworldvideogames or use code openworldgames, you will get a 2-year plan plus 4 additional months with a huge discount. Special thanks to NordVPN for making this possible. Check it out in the description below. All right, so back to the Cyberpunk news right now. We've got a lot to go over here, including this article right here from Business Insider. Now, it has been translated, but it was a new interview with the CD Projekt RED dev team as to what is going on with Cyberpunk. So this is a brand new update from them. So let's dive in to see what they had to say. So they go on to ask this: according to the chart from the presentation to the half-year results, about a third of the team is still working on Cyberpunk 2077. What part of the third is dealing with fixes, and what is preparing the version for next-gen consoles? Again, it's translated, but they go on to say this: we are simultaneously working on the next-gen version, further improvements to the game, but please remember that the elements that we are improving with patches will also be in the version for the latest consoles. In total, more than 250 developers are currently working on the patching and next-gen version. Now, it says this group works more remotely, excuse me, or more stationary, and they're talking about working from a home or at the office, and most of this group is actually working remotely, and that's been one of the challenges that CD Projekt RED has faced, of course, with the pandemic and developing their games. Now, they go on to say this: what's the process of improving the game anyway? Do you monitor players' comments, read their opinions on the internet, or maybe there's a group of people in the company who still travels the lengths and breadth of Night City and captures them? For example, I read a Metacritic comment from a player with a long history of feedback, and it irritates him that he runs through walls in Night City and walks through doors. Are you trying to contact someone like that to identify the place of the mistake? Now, they go on to say this: we identify errors in 3 ways. Our community department is in constant contact with players and catches the most pressing issues. The second source of information is our technical support, which receives reports about errors. The last very important source is our own testing department, as well as external companies supporting us in this. These are the people who play the game and catch bugs and then fix them. That's obviously simplifying the whole process. And of course, you know, if you see CD Projekt RED's job listing page, there are constantly hiring new QA people, which I think is absolutely necessary based on, you know, how Cyberpunk was received. Now, this one is definitely an interesting question right here. They say this: if the game made its debut a year later, Was there a chance to avoid most of the problems, or maybe the game is so complex that without cooperation with many players using different devices on different hardware, it would be difficult anyway? And the response is this: more time for testing will never hurt. Of course, our analysis, however, is more focused on how we can make games better and more efficiently. It's about approaching how we make games. We have many applications, hence, among others, the transformation of RED 2.0 announced as part of the strategy update. And this is a big thing that they are currently doing with the RED engine, RED 2.0, this transformation of being able to develop parallel AAA titles. They are basically restructuring the entire studio to be able to develop their games more appropriately, because I think personally they perhaps were overwhelmed with Cyberpunk 2077. They need to do something differently. Now, it says this: from the same presentation I mentioned above, it appears that the second largest group of employees, about a quarter, is Cyberpunk Expansion 1. Understand that the second part of Cyberpunk will be your next big production, and you bet on this series. Now, again, this is translated, so we're going to get into this part here. It says expansions are big additions to the game. 2 large paid add-ons have been released to The Witcher. In the case of Cyberpunk, we are currently working on the first add-on. By the way, as part of the RED 2.0 transformation, we want to communicate so that we talk a little more about projects closer to their premiere, so as not to go into details and promote it too early. This is one of the reflections after Cyberpunk's long campaign. Of course, this does not exclude ideas for announcing projects at an earlier stage, and that is really interesting that they highlighted that. I'm curious to see how soon we'll be hearing about new projects, perhaps in 2022. That's going to be interesting. That is, in my opinion, maybe an indication there. Now, let's talk about CD Projekt RED's new controversial tactic of using Kickstarter for their projects. I kid you not. Check it out here. This comes from PCGamer.com. It says CD Projekt is using Kickstarter to raise funds for The Witcher Ronin. And it says the campaign is already way past its goal, but why did it need crowdfunding in the first place? And that is the biggest question right here. So we're going to dive a little bit further into this project and find out what in the world is going on here. So it goes on to say this: The Witcher Ronin is an upcoming manga that sets the famed monster hunter Geralt off in pursuit of Lady of the Snow, Yuki Onna, across a new realm inspired by feudal Japan. It actually sounds really cool. Don't get me wrong. Now, it says the grim Eastern European fantasy is a natural fit for this kind of translation. In a world such as this, the role of the professional monster slayer is just as essential as dangerous Yokia and Ani. Japanese spirits and demons are constantly on the prowl, CD Projekt RED said. What makes a little less sense is that the studio is now raising funds to support a hard copy collector's edition on Kickstarter. I kid you not. Now, they go on to say this about this particular edition. It says the particular edition of The Witcher Ronin will only be available through Kickstarter at a cost of $35 for the basic package, the book and the postcard, or $50 for the deluxe Wanderer, which includes a postcard and poster with variant cover art. Limited developer tiers at $150 and $1,050 are already sold out. Shipping is extra, and of course there are a few bonus add-ons up for grabs like pins, a tote bag, and a little Geralt miniature if you want to throw a little more money at it. Now, the campaign is already hugely successful, taking just over 2 hours to blow past $90,000, which is $107,000 goal, and is now well over triple that amount. As Kickstarter ideas go, this is clearly a good one, but I have to question why it was needed at all. CD Projekt reported a profit of roughly $303 million for 2020, despite a very rough launch for Cyberpunk, and it also became the most valuable video game company in Europe, surpassing even Ubisoft with a market value of more than $8.1 billion. I think it's fair to say that money isn't an obstacle. No kidding. So it's very awkward, in my opinion, that they are even asking for money with this project. Please let me know if you guys agree with this or not. Do you think it's okay that multi-billionaire companies are asking its own fan base to raise money for their projects. That seems a bit awkward in my opinion. You know, Kickstarter is usually for the common people trying to raise money for a project that they cannot currently afford. That makes sense to me, but this to me is just so awkward. I'm curious to see if any other companies will jump on this and see this as an opportunity to test the waters with Kickstarter. We'll see what happens. It's definitely going to be very, very interesting for sure. Now, also, someone noted this out on the subreddit here. They says this right here. Someone mentioned that the Popin on PC had perhaps gotten worse. Well, this is the new state of affairs for me on PS4 Pro after the latest patch. Never had this before, and they showcase a video here that has a lot of Popin issues, as you can see right here. Let me know if you guys are also dealing with this, but apparently this is recent. Look at those polygons. Look at those graphics. My God, amazing. But yeah, seems like some of you are actually dealing with that issue. Now, a lot of you guys are in agreement about this one. I wish the Corpo playthrough was a lot longer in this game. 5,200 upvotes right there. And yeah, I think it would be cool if they could flesh out the life paths in this game. Will it happen? I'm not too sure. Maybe they'll do something new with an expansion or DLC in the future. I think that's the only way that we will see some sort of new in-depth life path system added to the game. Honestly, it would be like an entirely new experience. And then maybe they'll update the actual world systems in the vanilla version of the game. But anyway, let's go over your top comments related to my most recent video. Remember to leave a comment down below. It could end up in a future video. So let's do this right here. This was my most recent video. It says Cyberpunk, all new updates, fall 2021 free DLC plans, Vigilance 2099 dev update. Can't wait to see what they do with that Vigilance game, by the way. Now, Jojo says this, no hate on Keanu. I've always been a fan of his work, but I would prefer about 60% less Johnny Silverhand and 100% more Jackie Wells. The only time I felt a real connection to the game was when I was working jobs with Jackie, which would have been a very short-term connection because you know what happens. Granted, this was the only actual finished portion of the game. Even the romance options don't have the emotional weight that the friendship Jackie and V had. You know, yes, that's what I noticed. You know, after the whole events with Jackie, the game just got rougher and rougher. You can see that they had very much polished those beginning sections of the game, and I wish that the beginning, you know, quality was throughout the entire experience. Now, Aziz says this, Keanu just played the role he was given. He did a good job. The people who should be blamed are those who changed the game to be built around Silverhand. How amazing it would have been if the game was a proper RPG like the one shown in the 2018 demo, where these choices and actions affect the world. Yeah, you know, a lot of people want to see more choices and consequences in this game. Young Grandma says this, these DLC seems like small stuff and not actual story stuff. That's exactly, they've already confirmed that. They're not going to openly say, hey, the free stuff is going to be big. It's going to be smaller. But I like the cars, the weapons. That's what I'm looking forward to. And of course, anything related to customization in the apartment and your character. Now, says this, the Shadow Straggler says, safe to say, this game will never come close to what was advertised. In that regard, CD Projekt RED run surprisingly well from responsibility. Whoa, shots fired. B says that CD Projekt RED needs to regain player trust. CD Projekt RED, here are some new poses you can do in the mirror. Yep. Pretty much, that's how it's been going so far. But anyway, we'll see what they can do. I'm really crossing my fingers that this expansion that they're working on is like absolutely top tier amazing stuff. Honestly, they should take their time on it. Do the No Man's Sky process. Take your time. Get something absolutely amazing out. Surprise everyone. Bring people back into the world of Cyberpunk. I would love for them to actually pull off that type of turnaround. We'll see. But, you know, No Man's Sky, here's the biggest difference. No Man's Sky, a lot of their stuff is free. So, yeah, the expansion will be paid from what I understand. But anyway, there it is, guys. The latest happenings around Cyberpunk and CD Projekt RED. Thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned for more. And I will see you next time. Take care.